Vikram Sood, thanks a lot for speaking to CNN News 18. You must have heard just a short while ago, the Prime Minister made a very big statement announcing the intent of the government and the extent to which it is willing to go to respond to the Pahalgam attack. One of the key statements that the Prime Minister talked about was that the remaining land being used for terror has to be destroyed. How do you see this statement by the Prime Minister?
Well, the remaining land, you know what it means. We all know what it means. It probably refers to PoK. Because since that has been used for terrorism as a route into Jammu and Kashmir, so translated, I suppose that's what it means. And that's a pretty big statement coming from on high. I mean, you and I can keep saying, but when the Prime Minister says this, there is only one meaning to it, to my mind.
You're absolutely right. Many of us felt it referred to PoK. You feel the same. And as you said, that this is a big statement coming from the leader of the state himself.
Yeah.
But I want to understand from you, as the former RAW chief, how easy or difficult is it to reclaim PoK, if that is what we're talking about?
Well, I think that is better answered by those in position today. I can only speculate. My speculation goes back to strengths and observations 20 years ago. So I'm horribly out of date about strength positions, except what I read in the papers. So it's the Pakistan army is not to be written off. And so it is not as if it's going to be a cakewalk. And beyond that, I don't know whether what are we actually implying by this taking over.
But if you were to stick to this, that indeed the PM could mean PoK, I just want to expand this to what NSA Ajit Doval is also on record to say, and that clip is going viral again, where he said that if you attempt again another 2611, you lose Balochistan. Do you think India will also exercise those options? Because both the Balochistan area and some other areas in Pakistan are creating a lot of problem for them for the other front.
Again, a very difficult question to me, because I think support to Balochistan is it's not an easy thing to sustain from here. So I doubt if we will go for this kind of a thing. It can be a threat, but to actually implement, it's going to be not easy.
Not easy. So according to you, what are the most viable options available in front of India? Because diplomatic options have been announced and exercised, but there is clearly an intent and an announcement of something militarily. We have done surgical strikes and airstrikes in the past. More of the same, or do you think we can go further this time?
No, I'm not sitting in the war room, so I don't know what.
Sure. But according to your intelligence and experience.
If we're talking in terms of escalation, it only means one thing. Thinking of escalation, it means only one thing. And you know, stopping terror by killing terrorists is not going to solve the problem. Terrorists in the Pakistani eye are expendable. Even organizations are expendable. If Jaish-e-Mohammed or Lashkar-e-Taiba goes rogue or is the price to be paid, they'll shut it down or worse. That is not the issue. Terror is not going to be controlled by killing just the terrorist. As a matter, I mean, nowhere in the world it has died down. So for us also, it means that you have to get to the source. Who supplies? Who gives weapons? Who gives money? Who gives shelter? Who trains? You have to get there, no? The fountainhead, where everything flows from. So, are we ready for that?
Are you asking, are we ready for that?
I am asking too, are we ready for that? I don't know, frankly. But is the nation ready for that?
Because the PM has also mentioned, and he chose his words very carefully, not just those who conducted the terrorist attack, but those who provide the support, the fountainhead that you're talking about. The PM also very categorically mentioned that today. So
Yeah.
clearly the intent is there.
Yeah. So we are looking at a very stern warning. I don't think I've heard this kind of a warning ever before. I mean, we've talked, politicians and everybody else has gone around and saying, ugly bare, oh, that sort of thing. But is this just anger of the moment? Or is this anger, cold anger, as you would call it, that never forget, never forgive?
Yes.
So if you've got that, then it means something else.
It means war?
It means conflict anyway. So that is the idea one would get from this kind of a comment, that we are ready.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I know even the public talks about an all-out conflict all the time, especially in the aftermath when such an attack takes place. And as you say, anger is pretty high. But this is a question the government would also have to
Yeah, because
ponder upon.
we can't just let momentary anger decide decisions. In the heat of the moment, you take a decision. I'm sure there has to be some cold thinking about all this.
So if you were indeed in the war room, what would your sense be? Because situation with Pakistan hasn't really changed much 20 years ago or 30 years ago. Yes,
It'll
capabilities are
never change.
different.
It'll never
But
change.
what
Situation.
would your sense be of what India can do and should do?
You have to isolate Pakistan by isolating it yourself first. Anyone who deals with Pakistan doesn't deal with us. Then they have to make a choice whether they want to continue dealing with Pakistan and have trade with us and mollycoddle Pakistan at the same time. Won't work. So you trade with us, you don't deal with them. You have to make sure that the ideal is that it should come to its senses without firing a bullet. I doubt if that will happen. They are so carried away by this Ghazwai in this chap,
Yes.
the chief of staff was talking about two riyasats. One was Riyasat in Medina and the other one was in Pakistan. So that's the mindset they're coming from. And it's not as if it's not a switch on, switch off situation. Okay, आज बोल दिया तो ठीक है, we are good Muslims. We are moderate, so we are good Pakistanis, no war. No, it's been too far ingrained in them, particularly the armed forces, I think, because they have to do battle. So they'll have to find their own ways of handling this. Is this just a bluff from the general? Is he pushing us to make these statements so that he can turn around and be the victim and seek help? As it is, the New York Times is calling this the attack in India-controlled Kashmir. I mean, they haven't changed their announce a word since the whole thing started 70 years ago.
Even BBC.
Yeah, BBC, they all have that thing. So do we need international support? If we need, what kind of support we'll get from where? Look, even these Muslim countries, the Islamic countries, haven't favored this attack.
Yes.
And our relations with the West Asian nations is pretty good these days. So Pakistan probably feels that it is slipping from its hands. It has to do something now. It must kill the tourist industry. It must send fear. You know, you kill tourists from different parts of the country, the story spreads all over the country.
Yes.
So you want to create fear. Is fear the answer to your problems? No. He himself has his own problems. He's probably diverting attention.
You could be right. People have talked about how he could be diverting attention and how Pakistan could be itching for something so that it can then play the victim card and turn the situation against India. All of those scenarios are very possible. But sir, you yourself accepted that there's no peace with Pakistan, right? The situation with Pakistan will never change. In such a situation, I ask again, what can India do? Something people feel something decisive needs to be done. And I reiterate, the PM has said so. In fact, he speaks in Hindi. Today, he went ahead and spoke a line in English, which was clearly directed to non Hindi speakers all over the world. And he said, I tell the world that India will not stop and it will go to the ends of the world to punish the terrorists. That's, again, extremely strong messaging.
That's very, very strong statement. And I suppose your conclusion is the same as mine. That it means a lot of things. You're telling the world, if you don't step in, we will. If you don't teach Pakistan that this is not how it's going to work, we'll have to teach them. And
could this go beyond PoK?
You know, when conflicts start, you can't limit them. You don't know where it will go. Look at Ukraine. You can't limit the conflict if it is once started, and then eye for an eye. You know, you take another piece of territory to support the first one, so on and so forth. So it can. There's no limit to. It's not an IPL game. It's a long term, long haul, and not roses, but blood. Yes. So are we ready for that? You have to keep our own people fair.
As far as this attack is concerned, sir, do you see this clearly as the handiwork of the Pak ISI and army, especially coming 5 days after General Asim Munir's statement?
You know, I think, first of all, let's decide or discover or find out whether these fellows who did this attack came from Pakistan or they were already here. Then maybe the speech was a trigger. Okay?
Yeah.
Because if he's given the speech and then they've been motivated by that, then it's a hit or miss. I mean, they can come, they might come and reach when Vice President Vance is here or PM is out to Saudi Arabia, then it makes a different point. But there's no guarantee that they will arrive in 3 days beginning today. They might already be here 10 days in advance, or they might have been here for months. We don't know. And there has to be some local support. Couldn't have been done without that. That will be the key in the investigations. Where did they come? How did they come? After all, as the IRA, one of the things I like to talk about. The IRA tried an attack to kill Maggie Thatcher when she was doing a Tory conference in Brighton way back in the 80s. They had a bomb in the bedroom. She was in the bathroom and the bomb blew off. She survived. So they sent her a message. We have to be lucky once. You have to be lucky all the time.
Yeah.
So counterintelligence, intelligence about terrorism is one of the most difficult things to do. Particularly these days when all sorts of means of communication are available.
Sure.
And all sorts of ciphering is available. And, so maybe they were sent in advance, an advance party, and the talk was the speech of Do Riyasat and all was a sign. And they did it.
Especially the manner in which they carried it out, identifying Hindu men. particularly?
Yeah, that was all systematically planned to create that divide, hope to create that divide. He himself talked about two realities, Hindu
Two
and Muslim
different civilizations, yes.
civilization. So they're only trying to perpetuate that in India and spreading it all over Bangalore to other places where the other tourists were from.
But so don't you think with the world order what it is, with the kind of support Israel has got, despite so many protests globally and the overall victim card that Islamic terrorists always play, don't you think the world order has changed in a way where India could exercise all of its options militarily against Pakistan? If you look at the statements coming in from the US president, the Russian president, even Islamic countries, sure, China is one angle that we'll have to be very careful of. But do you believe the world order has shifted in a way where India could have the upper hand?
It's in the process of changing. I don't know whether it's changed enough for them to give up on their policy that no regional policy should be strong enough which adversely affects their interests. That's the basic theme of the US foreign policy. So, for a long time, it was Pakistan and India. Then it became India and China. Then it became China and Russia, and so on like that. So, have they changed enough to do that? I don't think the British have, for instance, changed. They haven't even said anything about the Pahalgam incident. The other countries have said, but as far as my knowledge is concerned, as of now, not a word from them. Have you heard anything? I haven't. The Brits have, the Germans have said, the Italians have said, the French probably, the Russians and Americans have made a statement. यहाँ से तो statement भी नहीं आया.
Yes. No, we clearly know some of the interests that some countries like UK, Canada, and China may have today. But the rest of the world, including given the similarities in the October 7 attack and the Pahalgam attack, a lot of parallels are being drawn with Israel's response. And you're absolutely right that once you start a war, you don't know where it goes. I mean, both Russia and Israel are finding that out. But Israel did announce that their clear intent will be to destroy Hamas. Until that happens, they're not going to stop. I'm drawing a parallel with what the Prime Minister has said now, that we will go to the ends of the world to punish terrorists. It's similar, if not directed towards a particular organization.
Yeah,
Do you believe India could receive similar support as Israel has from some of its allies?
Well, in one way it could, because the others are also suffering from this wave of Islamic, onslaught in their countries. And if they think that Pakistan is a part of that group, which is trying to dominate Europe in the days to come, they might want to help or support. But ultimately, each country will decide on its own.
Sure. Ultimately, it will be India's fight to fight on its own.
Yeah.
I want to ask you about the diplomatic step that India has taken on the Indus Water Treaty, something that has survived, multiple wars and multiple terror attacks, even 26/11, Pulwama and Uri, and so on and so forth. Finally, the Indian government has snapped. What impact do you foresee on Pakistan of this?
Well, look, I think the western rivers are with Pakistan, and the eastern rivers are with us for damming. Now, if we close the water completely, we don't have the space to keep the water. So immediately, I suppose they will, play it by the try to sort of modulate the flow of the water, not close it because we can't have flooding because of the excess water in the Chenab and in the Satluj. But if it gives you time to develop your own canals and the eastern rivers, your own systems, then it's much better.
There are some projects that India has already built, smallish projects. There are some that have been revived post Uri and Pulwama, and other projects that have been revived. And there is a sense that while it may not be able to completely shut the tap or the floodgates completely, but there will be both immediate, mid, and long-term impact of this. Of course, the words used are in abeyance. Till Pakistan shuns its
Not
support to
abrogation, it's
terror.
in abeyance, and maybe there will be shortage of water in Sindh. They're digging up all sorts of canals in Punjab, and if they run dry when they need the water, then there's a problem. So it's the timing also that matters.
But do you think overall all the diplomatic measures that have been announced have been good and would be effective in sending a message?
I think so. I would think that this is the least we could have done. And thank God, I think they've stopped that absurd. What is it?
Beating the retreat.
Last post at the Wagah
Atari Wagah border, yes.
Atari border. So these are measures that are good by themselves. Why should we give hospitality to those who don't believe in us or our friendship?
In fact, you talked about those who deal with Pakistan have to be told you either deal with them or you deal with us. And we are getting news that, even something that may seem a little bit frivolous, but a movie that has a Pakistani actor in it, we are getting news that that movie could be denied release in India. Do you think all of this works at some level?
All restrictions work in different ways. And sometimes you overplay your hand, and sometimes either way you can't win sometimes. If you let him act, then people will say, why are you doing this? Then if you don't say, then the other side is, what's the harm? He's only acting. So these are small things that will keep on happening. That movie was probably okay 6 months, 1 year ago.
Yes.
So,
but it's a message.
It's a message. Messaging is very important. And the other thing I do believe myself, that your voice has to be heard, your narrative has to be heard. And the trouble is that all the narratives are controlled in the West by the Western agencies.
But don't you think that has changed? India is heard and its voice is accepted a little bit more than before?
It's probably accepted more in the official circles.
Yeah.
But the media hasn't accepted it, to my mind. I mean, New York Times and Washington Post and others sing the same tune and willing to not see the real picture. They believe that they tend to favor Pakistan. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
So our views should be sent out by. We should develop the capacity, and it's not just the media. There are so many other means of doing it. Telling your own story.
Yeah.
And telling it to the people. Not doing it sectionally. This is from South India, this is from North India, we are a little different from each other. No, that's not working. It's like saying Texas is different from Orleans or different from Virginia. That's American. You're saying this is the American way. You tell them this is the Indian way. And what's good about us? Psychologically, I find that the rest of the world, particularly the Americans, don't really know anything about India, the average American. Then the counter argument is that average American doesn't matter. It's what the State Department or
Sure.
Pentagon or the corporate world thinks that matters. So we have to tackle them. We have to make it worth their while to interact with us, to participate with us in preference to others.
Speaking of in preference to others, I just wanted to ask you, I wanted to delve into the China issue. Now that India is threatening to put the Indus Water Treaty in abeyance, we are also, downward from China as far as certain water flow is concerned. Do you think, this could give China an angle to kind of trouble us as far as water in their control is concerned? Because a precedent has been set now.
Well, there are two things here. A large amount of the water doesn't come only from the Brahmaputra to Brahmaputra. It comes from the tributaries, which are in India. Okay? So if they build a dam, it will affect us, but not to the extent, perhaps, that many think it will.
Okay.
Okay, if I'm right, then there's nothing to worry about really. Maybe it just stop the flooding of Assam every year. So that's one aspect of the thing. And the other is China doesn't care for upstream, downstream business. They have built dams all over the 9 rivers that come from Tibet into Southeast Asia, Burma included. So if they do another dam, so be it. Chinese will do this dam regardless of what happens with India, Pakistan.
And Pakistan.
That doesn't make a difference to them.
Right.
But Bangladesh should be a little worried.
It's a message, in a way, an advance warning to Bangladesh as well.
Yes.
Yes.
If I were there, I would think, well, am I next?
Right. So I've taken a lot of your time. A final word, just overall, the picture between India and Pakistan. We see periods of this extreme anger and animosity that come after every terror attack. And every time we wonder, what is the solution and where is this all going to end? I know this is a difficult question to answer, and clearly nobody has found the answer. That's why we're still in this situation. But what do you see as the way ahead for us?
We are not going to be friends with Pakistan. Okay? It's not going to happen. So the only way is to learn to live with it as a neighbor. Build your high walls and leave him be to his feet. Don't think about him. Don't talk about him. Just isolate him. Deal with Afghanistan, deal with Iran, everybody else. Ignore this man. There's no going. I don't see a handshake.
Sure. No, that seems to be out of the window quite a while ago.
But we have a long boundary.
Yeah.
And we have people who have relations on both sides. Well, it's too bad. Then they have to learn to live with it. A choice was made then. Now it hasn't worked.
So as I understand, the option is that we upgrade our strengths to the extent, possibly like Israel has, where the damage on our side is as minimal as possible. And other than that, we just don't deal with them.
Yeah. That's aptly put. And that doesn't happen overnight.
Sure.
It takes time. So good luck to the GOI.
All right. On that note, thank you so much, Vikram Sood, former Raw Chief. Thanks a lot for sparing your time and talking to us.
Thanks. Bye.